Welcome back. Mrs. Johnston here for Knowledge and Science Time. Today is our last lesson in the unit on farms. And so let's discuss some essential background information you need to know. Each year has 4 seasons. We have a spring, summer, fall, and winter. Spring begins in March and is always followed by summer, which begins in June and is the warmest season. Fall or autumn follows summer and begins in September. After fall comes winter, the coldest season. Winter begins in December and ends in March, when spring arrives again and the cycle starts over. Can you name the 4 seasons in order? Did you say spring, summer, fall, and winter? How can you tell that it is spring where you live? Did you say things like the snow begins to melt? It starts to stay light out a little bit longer. The weather becomes warmer. How about summer? How do you know that it is summer where you live? Did you say it's hot? You wear things like shorts? What about fall or autumn? How do you know where you live that it is fall or autumn out? The weather starts to get cooler, the days, the light out becomes shorter, leaves start to turn colors. Let's talk about winter now. How do you know that it is winter where you live? Did you say there's snow on the ground? It's cold. You have to wear things like snow pants and a coat, hat, and mittens. Let's see if we can answer these questions. How many seasons are there? Did you remember 4? When do flowers begin to grow? In which season? Did you say spring? When do the trees lose their leaves? Did you remember in the fall? When is the hottest time of the year? Was your response summer? When is it most likely to snow? During what season? Did you say winter? If you were able to answer one, some, all of my questions, you were learning and listening to the details in that background information that we talked about, or you remembered some of it from previous units. Our story today is called The Seasons of Farming. The next read aloud is about what happens on a farm during each of the 4 seasons. Listen carefully to learn about the different things that happen on a farm during each season. There are 4 seasons in a year. Spring always follows winter. Summer always follows spring, and fall or autumn always follows summer. After autumn comes winter, and the cycle begins anew. What season comes after winter? Spring. Did you say spring also? Good job if you did. A farmer's work. The jobs he or she does each day changes from season to season. He or she does certain jobs in the spring, summer, fall, and winter. When we talk about the way in which a farmer's job changes according to the seasons, it makes sense to begin with spring. Springtime is when plants awaken from a long winter. New buds, leaves, and blossoms appear on trees, and wild flowers bloom in the fields. Springtime also marks the beginning of the crop cycle, when seeds are planted and new crops begin to grow. A farmer cannot plant if he does not prepare the ground first. Typically, this is done with a plow. This plow has long, sharp teeth that dig into the earth, shredding the dirt and plants to make room for new seeds. In order to prepare or cultivate the soil, the farmer adds a little fertilizer just to make sure that there are plenty of nutrients for his plants. Fertilizer contains nutrients to help the plants grow well. Different plants like different kinds of fertilizers. Some fertilizers are made from chemicals, and others are made from animal manure or animal waste. To plant large crops, most farmers use tractor driven seed spreaders like this one. It drops the seeds into the rows that the farmer has already plowed and fertilized. As it passes, dropping seeds evenly in the rows, the seed spreader brushes a layer of soil over the seeds. After planting, the farmer watches the weather and hopes for rain. The seeds need water in order to sprout into seedlings. In many places, spring is also a rainy season. Few things make a farmer happier than the sight of dark rain clouds overhead. Why is the farmer happy when he sees dark clouds? Did you say because it's going to rain? Rain is going to help the seeds sprout into a seedling. Eventually, the brown field will turn green as the seedlings emerge from the soil. Once they have sprouted, the new plants will continue to need water. By the time spring makes way for summer, these corn plants will be about knee high. Hopefully, they will continue to grow taller and taller throughout the hot summer. Sometimes problems arise and the plants do not grow as expected. Crops fail or die. Sometimes, no matter how hard a farmer works, and no matter how much he knows about farming, drought is one of the farmer's worst enemies. A drought is when it does not rain for a very long time. Droughts occur most frequently during the summertime. The crop in this picture is supposed to be tall and green. Instead, because of a drought, the crop is brown and wilted. If he has a good source of water nearby, the farmer can irrigate his crops. Irrigate means to bring water to a place where crops are planted. However, a long drought can cause wells and rivers to dry up. Irrigation can work well, but only if there is adequate rainfall. Unfortunately, rain isn't the only thing a farmer needs to worry about. Pests can ruin a crop as well, especially in the summer. Pests are animals such as insects that harm crops. This is a locust, which is a type of grasshopper. Locusts are famous for destroying crops by eating them. Various types of worms, beetles, flies, and other insects can also eat a farmer's crop. Fortunately, farmers have ways of protecting their crops. Sometimes farmers spray pesticides or chemicals that repel bugs and insects in order to ensure that the crop will survive and yield plenty of fruits and vegetables. A farmer can apply pesticides using the same equipment he uses to fertilize his crops. Organic farmers grow crops without chemical pesticides. For very large crops or fragile crops that could be damaged by tractor wheels, the farmer can hire a crop duster. A crop duster is a type of airplane that the pilot swoops down out of the sky, opens his hatch, and releases the pesticides over the crops. The crop duster can spread pesticides over a large area, and the farmer doesn't have to worry about trampling his crops with tractor tires. On some farms, harvest time is the hardest time. Most crops need to be harvested at just the right time or they will spoil. Harvest time is different for different crops and runs typically from early summer through the fall season. Some crops must be harvested by hand so they are not damaged. During harvest time, farmers need all the help they can get. They often hire people to help bring in the harvest as quickly as possible. Actually, not all farmers need to plant new crops every winter. Farmers that own orchards or fruit tree farms, such as apples and peaches, only have to plant each tree one time. That may sound easier, but it also requires a lot of hard work and patience. As every orchard farmer knows, once these apple trees are planted, the orchard farmer or owner must wait several years before they are able to produce big, red, juicy apples. After the trees are fully grown, they will follow the usual crop cycle, producing new leaves and flowers in the spring and young fruits in the summer. The apples grow all summer long until fall, when it is apple picking time. After harvest time, the farmer is finally able to take a rest. You might think that winter would be the easiest season for a farmer, and compared to the other seasons, it probably is. However, winter is the only time the farmer has to fix tools and machinery that is worn out or broken during the rest of the year. It is also time to plan for the next planting season, to buy seeds and to test soil to decide how much fertilizer he will need next year. No matter the season, there is always work to be done on the farm. What are the four seasons of the year? Did you say the four seasons are spring, summer, fall or autumn, and winter? Did you say one, two, three, all of them? If you did, you were listening to the story. What can farmers do to protect their crops from drought? Did you say the word irrigate? Farmers can irrigate their crops. Remember, that is when they use a water source, such as a well or a lake nearby, to put water over top of their crops. What can farmers do to protect their crops from pests? Did you say that they can use pesticide? Farmers can protect their crops from pests by using pesticides. Remember, if they have very sensitive crops, they might have to use a crop duster, which is a type of airplane, to apply the pesticide. Imagine you are a farmer. What kind of jobs do you do in each season? What would you do in the spring? Did you say I plow, fertilize, and plant in the spring? What about in the summer? What jobs would the farmer do in the summer? Did you say I irrigate crops? I protect the crops from drought and pests. What about in the fall? What jobs do farmers do in the fall? Did you say I harvest the crops? Fall is harvest time. And what about in the winter? What job do the farmers do in the winter? Did you say I fix tools and machinery? I plan for the next year? That is what the farmer does in winter. I want you to turn to the adult helping you today and share with them, which season of the year do you think is the most important time on the farm? Mrs. Johnston thinks that spring is the most important time on the farm. This is when you have to get the ground ready. You have to fertilize and plant. Without that, any of the other seasons may not be as productive. I hope that you enjoyed learning about the seasons on a farm and what happens during each season.